Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into 13 Signs Astrology YouTube channel and allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ram Hotep. I am the architect, if you will, of 13signsastrology.com. I created that organization and that movement solely by myself, and I, for the most part, manage it by myself. Now, when I say that for the most part, I do have partners. I don't have employees, but I do have partners and people that I partner with to help me to maintain that organization. Um, Ram Hotep is my trade name. This is the name that I come to you under. As far as the website itself is owned by one of my estate names. Is owned by a trust name that was passed down to me and that was given to me to manage by several family members. And I felt the need to do that. Reason being is because, I am a person that, as far as astrologically, my sun is in the eighth house. And if you know anything about the eighth house is the house of the unknown. The eighth house is the house of mystery. The eighth house is the house of death. And all of these terms that I've just named have been associated with myself. I've been through phases since I've been a public figure where people said I was dead, that I didn't exist. Um, I've had my identity stolen in real time. And I'm a person that is mysterious and into the occult, so therefore nobody can seem to, I guess they want to figure me out, but at the same time they feel like they can't. So that's the type of person I am, and I feel like eventually I'm going to do, I guess you can say like a get to know Ram Hotep video where I just kind of go into like how I got my start and really like break it down, like how I got to this point where I'm at. But I'm not going to do that right now. So I just want to talk about that and go into the subject now of talking about zombies, which, as you'll see as I progress into this subject, kind of relates and links into everything that happened to me. Now, a popular zombie movie that a lot of people are watching right now or the series is called The Walking Dead. So for modern people, young people out there watching this video, people that um, are more so into popular culture, you all know about zombies through the Walking Dead television series. It's very popular. I believe it started out, it took place in Atlanta, and parts of it was shot in DC as well. Now, I'm not the particular person that watches The Walking Dead, just to be honest with you. So I can't like go and break down to you all the different episodes and decode it for you. That's not what this video is about. But I just want to kind of introduce the topic of zombies based upon The Walking Dead because that's what you're familiar with. Now the concept of a zombie is real. It's not something that's just made up. It's not something that is just fiction. Um, the history of zombies goes back to what we would call West African or even Haitian culture, and that's what I'm going to get into on this particular video. But before I do that, what I want to kind of say about zombies is that when you hear them talking about zombies in popular culture, and you hear them talking about The Walking Dead, and you hear them talking about, all of these different occult terms, and you see them in popular culture, what you got to remember is that to them, they always have dual meanings. Now, I'm the type of person, I'm going to give you the history of a particular thing, and I can take you back into the history of it, but I also like to decode things and to tell you what they're really trying to say. And some people, when I do this, they may not understand it, or they may say it's far out. But if you really start to do any research, you'll understand. What they're really saying when they talk about The Walking Dead is they're talking about people that on a paperwork level or that are in the matrix essentially. These people are not on paper. These people are not accounted for. These people have not been counted in the census. So when they say that they're the Walking Dead, these are people that they can't account for, and some of them have ties and shares of plots of land, and some of them have ties to a lot of hidden treasure, if you will. So when they put out movies like The Walking Dead, and you see this whole thing where it's like the zombies are taking over, and the so-called people that haven't been affected by the zombies are fighting against the zombies. This is the real war. Like, this is what they are trying to do. This is the real big conspiracy. Now, to really understand this, I did a video a while back called The Metaphysics of Royalty. In that video, I talked about how there was going to be a war between the powers that be and the machines versus the royals. Because when you talk about The Walking Dead, you are literally, when you talk about it from an esoteric point of view, when you talk about people that have no documentation, you may call them aliens even, or people that are not accounted for, or they're not a part of your rostrum or your registration or your census. When you talk about people like that, you're talking about royals. These are people that cannot put their name on paper and such things like that, because when they put their name on certain papers and certain documentation, they're extorted to the fullest, because their name, like they said in the Bible, a name is better than gold. And I always say this over and over again, so a good name is better than gold. So some names, if you are named this thing, you are tied in through real estate, because the name is real estate, so you are tied into the real estate of many companies. So when you put your name on different paperwork and pieces of paper and things like that, especially here in this matrix, you can be extorted. Your companies could even be extorted through you, not just you, but even companies can be extorted, and different partnerships and associations could be extorted based upon you putting your name on paper. And I know this is sounding very business. You may be thinking, what does this have to do with zombies? And that's what I'm trying to explain to you. It's like when they talk about The Walking Dead, see, you in the occult, they have what's called a book of dead names. And if you look into those dead names, you'll notice that most of those dead names are in ancient languages or in ancient tongues that are not spoken amongst common people. So when they use the term dead, according to the occult, dead really just means hidden or secret, or something that, or a name that's being hidden out, or secret name. Remember, I did a video where I was telling you about how the Egyptians, when we were born, see, they gave their children different names. They gave them 3 different names. You may call this a first, middle, and last name, but the Egyptians called it the small name, the big name, and the secret name. And these 3 names, the secret name was not to be used. This was the name that was hidden. It was only to be used by executives or executors, or what we would call executive rulers. So this is what they call, when they say The Walking Dead, these are people that have control over different hidden or secret names. Now follow me now. So that's the esoteric aspect of the zombie, believe it or not. That's what they're talking about. That's what they're telling people that are initiated, like high-level occultists that watch The Walking Dead. That's a code to let them know that they are at war against people that have control over certain trusts. Like, say, for instance, the name Ford, F-O-R-D. This is a secret name. This is a, yeah, you see it in plain sight, but what I mean is that when a person is named Ford, if they have that name Ford in their name, they're going to be so they're going to be extorted, they're going to be targeted, they're going to be watched over, because of the fact that their name ties into a large trust, the Ford estate. A big trust. Like the name Ali. The name Ali, this is what you would call a secret name. Yeah, we know about Muhammad Ali and all of this, these different figures and entertainers and things of that nature use this name, but they use it as a trade because they're getting money off of it. However, they would never put that name on certain documentation. They wouldn't put that name on a driver's license. If they do, they're a fool. Because if they put that name on a driver's license, the whole state is going to go and take from that name. So when I say it's a secret name, it's secret meaning that it can't only be used in certain realms, certain means of business. And there are people that are initiated in this kind of stuff, and they know this kind of stuff. So I'm passing it on to you. So when they talk about The Walking Dead, they're at war against groups of people that have control over names like that. Now let's talk about zombies now. Now, to understand a zombie, when I say zombies exist historically, you have to know the origins of where zombies came from. And to understand where zombies came from, you have to go into studying voodoo. Voodoo. And voodoo actually was, I know you guys, it's a spiritual system to a lot of people, it's a religion to a lot of people. Some people say it's a culture. But actually, according to my research, what I've researched about it, voodoo was mostly a war science. And it was a science that was used by West Africans, and it was a science that was used by Haitians and the indigenous Ouachitas that come from the Louisiana area. They used voodoo for a reason, and they used voodoo as a war tool to fight off various different spiritual forces as well as physical forces that may be trying to take their land or just anything that was disagreeable to their progress. They would use voodoo, and this is why you notice in voodoo, people get scared of voodoo because it's a form of magic. You hear about all these crazy things. You hear about like Marie Laveau, and you hear about how Marie Laveau was into voodoo, and she was like a mistress, and she had women that was working for her doing all kind of different. She had control over women, and she had a lot of money from what I hear, and she had a business to protect. So I'm not going to go all into Marie Laveau, but she essentially knew and mastered the science of voodoo as a form of protecting her business interests. And it's been like that for centuries back. So zombies come into play when it comes to voodoo. According to my research from studying a sister by the name of Empress Bernice, rest in peace to the Empress, she teaches us that voodoo was used as a means in slavery for slaves to break free from the slave master during the time of what you would call the slave trade, which didn't really happen the way most people say that it happened. See, the slave trade is a whole other story I'm not going to go into right now because I'll have to do a video on that. A separate video because it's a lot. But the bottom line is that when the slave wanted to break free from the master, the only way to get out a lot of times was to die. That's right, to die. And what they would do is that they had an antidote in voodoo that could cause the slaves to die, or to the slave's consciousness, or the body to stop, the heart to stop, and all of that. And they knew, and there was a certain way that once the slave was dead and they did a ceremony, so a lot of times when the slaves died, they're not going to tell you this, the master would just come and check to see if the slave was dead, check the pulse or the doctor or whatever on the plantation, and they would let the other slaves do the ceremony. They would let his brothers or his family bury him. But the family would be in and knowing that, nah, he's not dead or she's not dead. We just faking out master so we can get him off the land so he can go get us some help so we can break free from the plantation type of thing. So they would bury him and put him and, create dig their grave for them because they had land, and most slaves, if you notice, most indigenous people, when you come back to their land, they always had a church and a cemetery. They always had a church and a cemetery because they buried their own dead. So the master didn't necessarily bury their dead, even though they may have been enslaved on the master's land. They still had their own section of the land where they buried all their slaves, but they knew that knowing that the slave was dead, they wouldn't seal his coffin. And they wouldn't basically engulf him in dirt or cover him in dirt or her in dirt, because they knew that eventually this particular slave would come back to life. And it's a secret antidote that people that are initiated high-level Babalawos and people that are into voodoo and different, what you may call wizards or mistresses, whatever you want to call it, people that are into voodoo knew the secret antidote to kill someone and then bring them back to life, or to stop their heart, essentially, is what they were doing. Now, this can be proven scientifically, and Sufis know how to do this. In the Sufi school of thought, when you start to study it, there's actually a book that you can get that is talking about the brain, and it talks about how there's different levels to your consciousness, and there's what you call life essentially existing in the body and the heart beating. When you so-called die, life doesn't stop. Like, what I mean by so-called die, when your heart stops and you stop breathing and you so-called die, life doesn't stop. It's just that the consciousness moves into what's called the nervous system. And that's one level to it. And you can live in that state, and the body can stop for up to, I believe, 24 to 72 hours. It can stay in that state before it goes to the next state. So basically, you can still be alive and in your nervous system for up to 24 to 72 hours. And this is why they talk about this. They say when some uh, coroners get bodies of people that are supposedly dead, and they start to working on them, to get them prepared for a funeral, and then they see the particular person, they get an erection. The dead body may just get an erection. It's supposed to be dead, but it gets an erection. Penises still get hard because of the fact that that's connected to your nervous system, your central nervous system, which is connected to your kundalini energy and your sexual energy. So when you die, your consciousness just leaves from this realm, or the physical realm, the brain, physical hand, arm, and all that. See, right now, that's where your consciousness is, because you identify with the body. But when you go into meditation, some people know what I'm talking about. You can align with your nervous system, and you can leave your body. This is what you call leaving your body. When you leave your body, you're just going into your nervous system. And you can go deeper in that, and I'll talk about the next stage. But you're going into your nervous system. So this is what they were doing in voodoo when they, when they faked the deaths of different so-called slaves that died, and they gave them this antidote. They turned them into a zombie. This is what a zombie is. A zombie is just a person or entity or being that's consciousness is locked into their nervous system. So they still walking around, but their consciousness is locked into their nervous system. So there are many physical zombies as well, or people that their consciousness more so exists in their nervous system. And these are people that you'd be like, how is this person 110, still smoking cigarettes and drinking and eating whatever they want to eat? They're just doing everything they want to do, because they may be a zombie by definition, because they may have shifted their consciousness to their nervous system. So they're not in the body anymore. So whatever they do to the body doesn't really affect them, because their consciousness is not in the body. So you can't manifest disease in the body unless your consciousness is in the body. The science that most people don't understand. Now the next level to it is that when your consciousness leaves the nervous system, you can actually become in tune with the actual DNA aspect of your being. And this is when you go into what's called your Akashic records. When you go into what's called your Akashic records, this is you getting in tune with the DNA ancestral aspect of your being. This is past the nervous system now. And you can live a life in the DNA aspect of your being well after death for thousands, some people say millions of years. Because when you go into the DNA aspect of your being, you can exist there as a body, as DNA, as long as the body's there. This is why the Egyptians would mummify the body, and they wanted to keep the body pure, even though you would think, why would they want to go through all of this to keep the body pure and the body's dead? Why not just throw it in a ditch and bury it? Because this will not create a proper transition to the afterlife. And they knew that in order to transition to the afterlife, you would have to get in tune with your DNA, with the cellular makeup of your being, or the DNA aspect of your being. And this is something that humans nowadays in the modern world are just now beginning to understand. And most people that understand this are people that are studying Sufism and high levels of the occult. So when you get into the DNA aspect of your being, you are going past being a zombie. This is what you have to realize. A zombie is in tune with the nervous system aspect of their being, so they can still walk around in the body. When you are in tune with the DNA aspect of your being, you won't move. Now, I'm not saying you can't be in tune with that and still exist on the other levels, like exist within the body and exist within the nervous system. However, what I am saying is that in order for you to be totally in tune with the DNA aspect of your being, you won't move. This is why the body, a lot of people say, well, he's dead, he's not moving. He's not dead, or she's not dead. They're just getting in tune with the DNA aspect of their being. They don't need the body anymore. And they're shifted into higher levels of consciousness, going into understanding how to take on new bodies, how to take control of the weather, do different things like that. All of this comes from the DNA aspect of your being. So these are the different levels of consciousness, and all of this links into zombieism. So now I know you guys, hear about zombieism or being a zombie, and when you hear about that now, you'll understand it from a better perspective now versus just looking at it as some scary thing, that's just they exist on cartoons. You got to shoot and kill it, so you can hurry up and kill it, because the zombie will come and take over and try to take your land, or or try to bite you and give you the disease, and you're gonna become a zombie. That's all the horror, sci-fi, making it look all hyped up aspect. It's never going to be a time where it's like that. I do believe that zombies, from the way that I define them, can gain a lot of power. People that have transcended the body, they're scared of people like that. People that are on a high spiritual level that have transcended the body are threats to the Illuminati or the elite forces. Because a person that's done that is, like I was telling the brother in the consultation, shout out to him because he's the one that inspired me to make the video, but a person that has transformed or has basically made it into zombieism is a person that doesn't need the body. They can get shot. This is where you hear about people getting shot and they really don't get phased. Or these people are super beings. They're very powerful. If you ever watch the Walking Dead movies, you always notice that the zombies are strong. Why are they stronger than regular humans? And they're supposed to be the Walking Dead. But they stronger than regular humans. You got to shoot them with some special gun or whatever just to kill them. Just because they have transcended the body. They're in the nervous system part of their body, so that's why they can live to be 110 years old and stuff like that. These particular zombies, and you can't phase them or whatever because they shape-shifted. This is really going into shape-shifting, actually, and learning about the different levels of the soul. There's actually 3 souls, and these zombies have gotten in tune with what's called the oversoul. So they don't need the soul that exists in here as much because they are linked into the soul group soul. See, there's the individual soul, and then there's the oversoul, and this oversoul links you into what's called your soul group. And this soul controls many different bodies. So these zombies, that's why they move together. You know this because they are in tune with what's called the oversoul. There are certain animals that are in tune with the oversoul. So there are certain animals in the animal kingdom, like different land animals that are in tune with the oversoul, like animals that roll in packs mostly. These animals are in tune with the oversoul. So when you get in tune with the oversoul, your thoughts are not individualistic anymore. It becomes a part of the group. When one person is thinking something, the other person automatically knows, and they just move out on it. They don't have to talk about it or anything. That's why the zombies don't talk. So zombieism is deep. I mean, I could really talk about this for a long period of time because there's many levels to it. It's not something that just, it's not a game. When they talk about The Walking Dead and those different shows, it's not a game. I mean, it's a reason why they shot The Walking Dead in Atlanta. I mean, it's so much tied into it. It goes back to slavery. So you got to remember, Georgia is where the dominant aspect of slavery took place in Georgia, in the southern states. Like, yeah, it was in Florida and, Louisiana and places like that, but Georgia was like the capital of slavery. You go down to the underground Atlanta, this is the capital. Back in the day, this was nothing but a slave capital. That's where they auctioned off the slaves at, in the underground. See, I know about Georgia on another level. I lived there for years. So you can't tell me nothing about no Georgia. My ancestors are all traced back to Georgia. Before slavery and after. During slavery, some of them were slaves down there in Noonan County. Or Noonan, the city of Noonan. That's a whole nother, I ain't trying to really reveal too much of my bloodline, trying to go, because I ain't really trying to go there, so. But, I mean, yeah, zombieism is deep, man. Like, people really need to write more books on it, honestly. I mean, that deserves, like, a book, a full-fledged book. And I think at some point when I get more well-studied, like, this, like, I talk about a lot of stuff. I'm going to eventually write books, like, full-fledged books, like, when I get older, though, like 10 years from now, I'm going to go back and look at all the videos I did, and I'm going to write books on all the different video topics I did. And it might really give you a chance to go deeper into the different subjects that I talk about, because here I'm just introducing you to stuff. But zombieism, that one's worth a book, man. Like, a griot needs to hook up with a writer, and they need to just put that thing together and put together a good book on zombies. And I'm sure there's probably one out there, if it is, you guys leave it in the comments. I'm sure you've got a lot of people out here that know a lot about different books and things that are out. Leave it in the comments or whatever. And, give us a chance to check out some of these books on zombies. So that's my brief views on it. I thank you guys for listening to this spiel that I have done on zombieism. And I'm going to go ahead and shut this video down. And until we meet again, as always, leave you in peace. Namaste. 13.